By now, we know a lot about APIs, and we also know some best practices around creating some great APIs. But how do you keep them running very fast? So in this video, let's look at some performance enhancements for APIs. Just want to take a quick break to tell you something important. If you have some years of experience in the industry, you know that just knowing system design concepts is not enough. You need to know how to break down complex problems and apply all of the concepts that you know. Now, there are many system design courses on the internet, but they break down simple problems like e-commerce platforms, social media platforms. But what about someone breaking down OpenAI or Hugging Face or Cursor, the kind of platforms that will be built in 2025 and beyond? And this is why I've built the perfect 3-month advanced system design bootcamp, where you break down distributed systems problems, decentralized platforms problems, and AI infrastructure problems. This cohort is for more advanced people who have a few years in the industry, they know quite a lot of system design, and are now looking to upskill. If you think you're a good fit, there's a form in the comments and in the description of this video. Fill it up. We'll check if you're a good fit, and we'll set up some time with you. Now let's get back to the video. The first thing you can do is you can batch requests. So for example, the API consumer, let's say an external SaaS software that's calling our API service, sends multiple requests over a period of time. So instead of receiving multiple requests, we can batch the requests from the API consumer. And this ensures that the network doesn't get congested. We can handle many more requests and we can process requests all in a batch together. And this significantly enhances the performance of our APIs. Now, the next technique is also quite cool, which is basically keeping the connection alive. So for example, if there was a browser making a request to a server, it would always have to make a new connection. So for example, the first request is here and then the connection is ended. Now again, it has to create a new connection and then send a second request. But instead of always trying to create a new connection, you just create the connection once, keep it alive, and then you can share data between the client and the server very easily. So this just makes the interaction between client and server extremely efficient by just keeping the connection alive for longer, instead of the client having to create connections again and again with the server. In the previous video, we discussed about log and how that can help as an API best practice, but the logging should not be synchronous. It should be async. Now let's look at the difference between sync and async here. So synchronous process, right? When it sends a log, it keeps waiting for a response back. And this actually stops any further processing or any other log emission. In some of the worst implementations, it can actually end up stopping the core process thread of the backend server. Instead, if we emit our logs asynchronously, we can send the log. We don't have to wait for the response back. We can actually continue working. And whenever we get the response back, we can actually take an action depending on the log. Async logging ensures we don't end up blocking our processes and our resources are freed up to process other requests. Now we've learned a little bit about caching. Caching saves time because you don't always have to make a trip to the database or the backend server. The API gateway can instead just retrieve information from the cache, especially if that information is continuously being utilized or often being requested by clients. Caching saves time, saves network requests, speeds up the software, and removes inefficiencies which come from calling the database again and again. Now, the next one is called payload compression. So if you were to make a request to a server, you would receive back a payload. In most cases, it is a JSON object. But what if you compressed that object and it became really small? That would ensure that the API response time will be less, and it would generally make the API more efficient. And of course, it reduces the load on the network. So payload compression is a great way to ensure fast APIs. Now you know that backend services need to be connected to a database at all points of time, but connecting to a database can take some time. So a quick way to ensure more efficiency is pooling of the connection requests so that the services or the clients can utilize those already established connections instead of trying to set up a new connection with the databases. We'll learn about this technique a lot more in the upcoming videos. For now, you just need to know that this makes the connection between services and database much smoother and faster, and thereby leading to performance benefits for the API itself. So soon we'll be looking at gRPC and protobuf, but for now you just need to understand that protobuf is a different data format as compared to JSON, and it consumes a lot lesser space than JSON. So it's easier to transfer between client and server, thereby making the APIs much faster. So if you look at the comparisons between protobuf and JSON, you can see that protobuf is always much smaller and leads to better performance on all browsers as compared to JSON. So to recap, we looked at 7 different ways on how to make our APIs much faster. We can batch the requests, we can keep the connection alive, we can perform async logging, we can have caching implemented, we can compress our payloads, we can have database connection pooling, and we can use protobuf instead of using JSON. And by now we know a lot about APIs, how to structure them, their best practices, how to keep them perform. Now in the next video, I want to show you a different type of APIs called GraphQL. You'll find it very interesting.